Thanks for joining me this week on the show. Here's a short, sweet, and personal message from me to you. As we look back over the course of 2025, it might not have shaped up the way that you had hoped it would. I can certainly say that my projection versus reality have been very different animals in my own life. And so, as we start hearing about people casting visions for 2026. What do you want to call down? We are in that fourth quarter. If you subscribe to that kind of calendar year, let's take a little time to pause, to reflect, and to acknowledge that not all of our growth is linear and that not all progress is visible. Thanks for joining me this week. I'm so grateful to have you here. It's time to flip the script on stress and learn how to thrive today and throughout your days. Join me for inspiration and interviews with folks who are shining their light in the world in the areas of positive mindset, health, and well-being. I'm your host, Susi Vine. Let's get happified. Welcome back. I am so happy to see you this week for another episode of Happified, aka Stress Management and Resilience Tools for Your Happified Life. I am Susi Vine, your host, coming to you with episode number 191. Thank you for being here, whether this is your first or you have been with me along the journey. I'm grateful to have your listening ears, your attention in this busy life that we are all leading right now, streaming on YouTube, on your favorite podcast player, and you can always find me on the website at happifiedlife.com. This week, I am joining you to talk a little bit about a look back as we look forward. This year has been a blur. Is that true for you as well as for myself? We've got 2 more months to make this home stretch and to look forward into what we want to call down, to create, and to enjoy in 2026. If this is the season that you're feeling into it, sometimes people wait until January 1 to start looking ahead. But as the weather cools down here in sunny California, and I am starting to look ahead as well as look back. And looking back over the course of 2025, I can certainly see the things that I have accomplished, and it does not stack up to the list of things that I had hoped would come to pass as I set the course for 2025 at the very beginning of this year. I'd love to hear from you how this year has treated you, what lessons you learned along the way. And after we finish our conversation today, I'd love to hear your takeaways, how maybe what I have to share with you gives you a little bit of a shift, a reframe, or a little permission to define it differently than perhaps you would have otherwise. So I want to start out by taking a look at here in the Northern Hemisphere. As I've already mentioned, the seasons are or have changed into fall, and we're feeling even closer to winter now. And you might be looking back over 2025, struggling with a bit of regret or frustration in what did not materialize in the way that you had hoped it would. And I want to remind you, as well as myself, that progress is not always linear. I often say that I can see that my path has been more like a concentric circle, guiding me to be exactly where I feel that I am meant to be. Although at times it can be hard not to be frustrated with perhaps getting to where I am a little earlier on in the process. So I hope that's not the case for you, but if it is, welcome to the club. And let's take a look at how we might begin to reframe that. First of all, I want to talk about how in this Western lifestyle that we are all embroiled in, we tend to think about accomplishments and achievements, reaching goals. Maybe it's that next job promotion, maybe it's moving into the home of your dreams, finding the partner of your greatest desires, feeling like your family fits the picture of perfection. We have been trained to look at outcomes over the journey, over the process. We've been trained that knocking our way through checklists is the way that we can really recognize how far we have come. Perhaps you might be more like me in that regard, in that, as I was just saying earlier today, somehow I keep adding to that checklist as quickly as I manage to take anything off of it, and the list never gets any shorter. And so I struggle to see where and how I have made progress when I slip back into this more Western mindset of accomplishment, of achievement, of measurable growth. Sometimes the external results don't match the internal evolution. And I hope to inspire that within you a little bit today. So, as I've already said, I really recognize that my growth has been not a linear path. And we don't have to look far to see examples of how that is supported. In nature, we have seasonal shifts. We might feel some frustration as we come into the fall season, as we feel like our growth, our progress is hindered a bit by the shifts and changes that winter will be bringing about as things cool off, as we change our focus into gathering the results of our labors, of storing those away so that we feel well provisioned for the fall and the winter seasons. We don't get to keep operating with the same energy, the same external signs of growth that are easier to find in the spring and summer seasons. This naturally is a time of reflecting, of collecting, of even turning in and looking for ways to nourish ourselves, to fortify ourselves through what could be a colder and potentially harsher season ahead. And I don't know about you. I try not to devolve into political topics on the show, but perhaps you have been feeling some of the frustration that I believe is very widespread right now in the disappointment in the direction that things are going, in the heartbreak over a lack of unity, of empathy and understanding, of feeling like we are taking care of each other. And perhaps you have felt more of a turning in, of a need to collect and protect your own resources even earlier in the course of this year than you perhaps naturally would have. And if that is the case, I hope that you will continue listening in, continue taking my words to heart, especially as I get to the point at which we explore giving yourself a little bit of grace and extending yourself a little bit of nurturing. So, as you look back over the course of this year or several years, maybe even the way that things have changed since the before times in these last 5 years, I invite you to stop counting only what is visible, only the quote unquote measurable growth, and take a look at instead what you have learned, what you have recognized, what you have released or healed or overcome or simply survived. If you've been listening to my show for a while, you know that my year was off to a very rocky start. We had some health issues here very close to home. Fortunately, our health is on the mend and we're feeling much stronger and more resilient than we did in the first quarter, if we're still following that Western calendar. Also, looking at how transitions have been upon us. In so many conversations that I've been having, I am seeing and hearing that other people have really been struggling through seasons of very heavy transitions, of losing people who are close to us, as I have only a few months ago, of perhaps losing a home, moving to a different home, as we did just a few months ago. Again, that's a journey that I've shared here on the show because this is where I get to show up in my authentic self. I don't pretend that I have conquered these challenges or that I'm at the end of the path, reaching my hand back to you. I am walking this journey with you. I am human. I am indulgent. I have my old habits that I am working on releasing, as well as the new ones that I am working on establishing. So here, I invite you to be your full-fledged, authentic self right along with me. I think we need this in the world to help stop carrying these facades of perfection, this social media filter that we have it all figured out, that there's nothing wrong behind the scenes, because really we are all walking through similar journeys here. And the more we recognize we are in the same place, confronting the same challenges, the more we can reach hands out to each other to help ourselves and everyone else through these very challenging times. So, looking back, what you've released, what you've learned, what you've gained, what you have moved through, what you've survived, also take a look at what you have come to be aware of in yourself. Perhaps your values have changed or shifted. Perhaps your priorities have changed. Maybe you've dropped some of the expectations of society or family and really gotten clear on just focusing on what serves you. I hope that's true for you. I invite you to take a look back through some episodes here on Happified. That is even more of the subject matter that we've been addressing together this year. Maybe you have gotten clear that your boundaries need to be stronger and those have shifted. Again, let us know how that has shown up for you. I hope that you've been giving yourself permission to rest, to recover, to recognize burnout when it's still on its way towards you, as opposed to landing full-fledged and flat out within burnout and then trying to establish an opportunity for recovery. If that's you, I hope that you'll be reaching out to me, because that is what I love to be able to support people within through my stress coaching work, through my work with Bach flower essences. I like to help people lift, to lighten the load so that we can move forward more easily and recognize the ways in which we can release what isn't serving us and welcome the ways that we can be. As I already mentioned, this year had a lot of shifts, a lot of pivots. When I set the course for 2025, I had ideas of quite a few digital offerings, workshops, programs unfolding over 4 and 6 weeks that I would make available to people who would find this supportive, who need this kind of resources in their lives. And a lot of that did not come to pass. I was not expecting a sudden health crisis. I was not expecting to be moving out of our longtime home with a very, very short lead time, and then finding an interim solution, which gave us the invitation for lovely, precious time to travel, to visit family and friends that we have not taken the opportunity to see in far, far too long. And now we are here, we are getting settled in our new home, although for the sake of consistency, I'm keeping my old backdrop until I have a new one ready to reveal for you. And even in that process of getting settled in, of unpacking and putting down roots in our new community, I'm giving myself grace. You may or may not know that in a past life, I worked with a senior move management company and I managed moves for our clients, at least hundreds of moves over the span of 5 years, if not into the thousands. And I was able to make short work of that for other people. And I always acknowledged, and I'm acknowledging for myself right now, that it is a different matter when you are the one in transition. And so I'm trying to come back to extending that grace for myself and my husband as we keep on settling in, keep on finding homes for things, keep on downsizing now that we know where we are putting down roots and what we have the space and the need to still have in our home. So that's really what I'm talking about here, is recognizing that we are all on a journey and we can't measure our journey by other people or even by how we navigated these journeys or similar ones earlier in our life, because right now we are this person with this level of energy, these resources available to us. We can't keep measuring ourselves up to what works or seems to be working for other people, or how we were able to handle this at an earlier stage in our lives. This precious, blessed, messy situation that we find ourselves in, this is what we have to work with, and this is where we are. Wishing for a different situation, different opportunities isn't going to change what is in front of us right now. And the grace really comes from recognizing the strengths, the talents, the skills, the resources that we have called together. Instead of feeling stuck and overwhelmed, instead of spinning our wheels or spinning out, we can take a breath, take a pause, take a look around, and recognize that we're doing okay. We're going to keep on doing okay if we keep focusing on the next step that is in front of us, this day that we are in right now. We can't solve the problems of this entire week and month and quarter. However, we can take a breath and take the next action that's available to us. When we break it down into these steps, it's a lot more doable, a lot less overwhelming. And so I hope that'll start to give you a new perspective, an invitation to shift the way that you are looking at everything that is on your plate right now. I also hope that you might take a look at what lessons you've learned, as I just said, what strengths and resources you have developed or acquired recently. Resilience doesn't come from a stress-free life. For most of us, resilience is a muscle that we need to build through moving through life's challenges, through recognizing the growth that we have experienced, simply through recognizing that we have survived all of our worst days. None of them have gotten all of the best of us yet. We are still walking this journey. So if we start to take a fresh perspective, if we start to take a look at the challenges as opposed to evidence that life is against us, that the world is more challenging than we are up to, if we start looking at things with a little bit more grace, a little bit more curiosity, we can start to ask questions like, what lesson was I able to bring from this? How am I stronger now than I was before this challenge? I might not be where I expected or wanted to be. However, the place where I am has gifts. And if we start to train our perception, our vision to look for these learnings and lessons, as my friend Juliette Bastion calls them, the blessings and the lessons, then we start to train our mind out of overwhelm, out of expecting failure, and into curiosity, into appreciating the process, which is really priceless. One thing that I also like to invite you to recognize as we're looking at things with curiosity, as we're redefining growth and progress, is to be present to the way that you are perhaps talking with yourself, the way that you're talking with other people when it comes to matters of family and home, workplaces, and the challenges that we meet there. How are you doing at extending kindness to yourself, at simply being aware of what that voice within yourself is sounding like? Sometimes we default to critical voices that we may have carried forward from our childhood, from teachers or parents who thought they might have had our better interests at heart, but frankly, were saying things that were harmful to us. Do you recognize any of those voices, any of that tone now in the way that you talk with yourself, that you talk with the people that you love, your team members? Do you treat yourself as well as you treat your dear friends, your loved ones? This is another beautiful place to get curious because mindfulness is not developing a meditation habit of up to 45 minutes to an hour, sitting blissfully at peace and meditating and building that practice. Mindfulness is awareness, is being in the moment. And so the more curiosity we bring to situations that we're in, to the mental chatter that is going on as if it wants to be on autopilot, and being aware, being mindful of the things we're saying to ourselves and to others, and looking for that opportunity to be more kind, to be more generous with ourselves and with others. You draw more flies with honey than with vinegar, right? Now, none of us want to have more flies, but that old trope is true. From sweetness, you get more presence. You get people opening up to you. You get more opportunities. You get more listening ears with yourself as well as with other people. So please practice, please build this muscle of kindness as well as awareness as you are taking a look back over this year, taking a look forward at what you'd like to start feeling into for the year ahead. And as you are giving yourself a little bit of understanding, if you're looking back with this curiosity, there's a big difference between letting yourself off the hook and giving yourself grace. Being kind to yourself is extending grace to yourself the way that you do others. And I hope that you will develop this habit, nurture this practice of extending grace to yourself as well as to the other people in your life. If you have a journal or a notebook, maybe you have a digital document on your computer or phone, I invite you to take some time, make note of these prompts for a little self-reflection. So you can come back to this, you can pause this and come back with your journal, or perhaps just pause this and give yourself a few moments to think into these upcoming ideas or lines of thought. So number one, I invite you to reflect on, what have you learned about yourself this year? What have you learned about yourself this year? Because these are such precious lessons. The journey to self-awareness is so important. It's so valuable. It pays off in so many different ways. What have you learned about yourself this year? The second prompt that I'd like to invite you to dive into is, what am I proud of, even if no one else noticed? What are you proud of right now? Even if that was for an audience of one, that audience of you, which I would argue is one of the most important audiences that you have there. And number three, where did I show courage, patience, or compassion? And again, extending yourself grace. If you have perhaps been feeling hard on yourself that you didn't take more of a visible or audible stand, if you didn't have stronger boundaries, let's reframe that. Where did you show courage or patience or compassion this year? Even if choosing to not engage, to not escalate a conversation or an argument might not have sat well with you, consider how you showed some compassion in that moment. And you might be clear on where your boundaries are in the future, but in that moment, maybe you demonstrated your skill of patience. Number four, what am I ready to release as I move forward? This is beautiful. It's important to know what we're available for and what we are not available for. So I invite you to ask yourself, to give yourself time to contemplate, what am I ready to release as I move forward? Beautiful. I have to breathe into some of those myself. I'm going to reflect on those and journal on those, but that's what came to me as I was putting together the format for the show. I want you to really sit with one or even yet all of these, or jot them all down and come back to them over the next couple of days. And I invite you to share your takeaways, share comments, let us know what's landed for you, how that's feeling for you. And let me know what you are inviting into your life or what you are ready to release as you move forward. I want to remind you that you are growing in the right direction, even in the pauses. You are stronger, you are wiser, and you are more aware than you were a year ago. I hope you'll breathe into that. I hope that you'll shine a little bit of light and love on yourself and the people around you. Maybe talk about this topic with someone who's close to you, a friend, a colleague, someone in your family. Talk with the kids about it. See what they reflect back to you. And let me know how this is landing for you. I thank you for your time, for showing up, for doing what you do, for shining your light in the world. Right now, more than ever, the world needs all of the points of light that you are. So thank you for all that you do. And until I see you next time, take good care of yourself. Thanks for listening. You'll find all the resources we discussed today online at happifiedlife.com, along with links to subscribe to Happified on your favorite player and a handy search tool so you can search all of our previous episodes. Help us grow by leaving a quick review
and share this episode with a friend. Until next time, keep on shining.